eye-opening, mouth-watering, heart-warming. I can go on and on. But basically, the very best financial information. So welcome once again. This is episode 10 in this series. And I tell you, it's been week upon week of brilliant conversation. As usual, I have a panel today, the very best minds in the financial services sector, and they'll be walking us through some very important information. Just a quick recap. Last week, we had a very interesting talk about contactless payment. And, I had a lot of people calling in, sending us messages and saying, wow, I never knew that there was a payment option like this that I could imbibe into my business, no matter how big or small. And that is what we live for, essentially, to get businesses and people to make the right decisions, to be better for themselves, their businesses, and for the nation's economy at large. Without taking much of your time, we're going to get right into the conversation this evening. But as usual, I'd like to tell you that we are not just on air, we're also online. So you can listen to us on Radio Nigeria across the country, wherever you are. You can listen to us, but you can also listen to us online and watch us live. You can see right into the studio right now. So just go over to smegrowth.ng if you want to see us. That's smegrowth.ng, and you get information on how to log in and watch us live on YouTube and across other social media platforms. Are you ready for the conversation today? If you are, then let's get right into it. But wait a minute, just wait a minute. The program is interactive. We live on your feedback, your questions, your comments. That's why we're here. We're here for you. So just in case you have a question, if you have a comment, if you need some sort of clarity, then you can call us up or send us a message on the following numbers. I'll call out the numbers for you now. 0810 608 1681. That's 0810 608 1681 or 0818 202 5883. These are the numbers with which you can call or text us on the program this evening as we go on. Are you ready for this? Well, today we are continuing on the conversation around contactless payment. Last week was so brilliant, and we realized that there's so much more that we have for you when it comes to contactless payment. So we thought, how about we have another session just to help you get more from contactless payment. But today we're taking a look at just how secure it is. Contactless payment. Security is a major issue, and we just want to walk you through just how secure contactless payment is. So when you're using it, either as a business person or a customer, you can rest assured. Your mind can be at ease that indeed I am safe, and these are the ways to ensure that I stay safe while using contactless payment. Believe it or not, this is the present of making payment. It's no more the future. It is the now, the today, and we're here to ensure that you don't miss out on it. So let me introduce to you our panelists this evening. As I said, they are the very best minds in the financial services sector. So if you're driving, if you're just relaxing, brace up for this conversation. I have joining me on the show this evening, Oluseyi Sonny. She's the head business solution and product support at First Bank. She joins virtually this evening. It's good to have you on the program, Oluseyi.
Hi, everyone. Good evening.
Good evening.
To be with you this evening.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Yeah.
You can hear from that smile that she's brimming with excitement, ready to give us all of that information, contactless payment, and the security around it. Also joining us is Olashibomi Adeyemi, who's a POS business officer at Polaris Bank. Olashibomi, great to have you on the show.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much. So happy to be here.
Absolutely. I always tell people that it is rare to have, people in the financial services sector at the same place at the same time. And we always want to make the most of your parents. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us. We'll also be having Justice Wefido, who's a product manager, payment and collections at Fidelity Bank PLC, joining us on the show. So without much ado, let us get right into it. Contactless payment. Why contactless payments are secure for you. Just in case you've been having fears, concerns, questions, and all of that, let's trash them out this evening. Don't forget, you can call us or you can send us a text. This program is proudly brought to you by the Bankers Committee. So let's get right into this conversation. And I'll begin with Oluseyi. Just so we don't take it for granted, we had the conversation last week about contactless payment, but we want to do a quick recap on just what contactless payment is and the various modes of contactless payment. So Oluseyi, if you could just quickly walk us through what is contactless payment for those who may have missed the episode last week, and what are the various forms of contactless payment, Oluseyi?
Okay, thank you very much, Coyote. So I'm happy to be here, and thank you for the listeners. So what is contactless payment? Contactless payments are wireless financial transactions in which a customer makes a purchase in close proximity to the device that is NFC or RFID enabled. And what is NFC? That is near field communication, or an RFID is the radio frequency identification. So all the devices that are supposed to accept the contactless are NFC and RFID enabled. And why is it secure to use contactless? You know, when contactless is generating the transaction, a unique secret key is generated at the same time. And with this, it is very, very secured, and it's exclusively for that particular transaction. And no two devices can generate the same unique key. So this is the reason why it is very, very secured. And we must make awareness among our customers and ensure that they imbibe using this contactless device. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Oluseyi, for that opener. So you may have heard those terms, NFC and the rest. Don't worry, it's no big deal. It just essentially means the technology that goes into making contactless payment work. But just as a way of opener as well, I'd like to bring in Olashubunmi, just your opening comments on, contactless payment, what it is, and the various forms of contactless payment. I think we've come a long way, really, from trade by barter to using cowries, to using coins, to using Naira notes, and all of that. So contactless payment might be new for a lot of people. So Olashubunmi, you could just give us some kinds of contactless payment I'll find around these days so people can better relate.
Okay, thank you very much, Kaede, and thank you so much, Oluseyi. So we have a whole array of contactless payments that are in industry today, ranging from your prepaid card, your debit card, your credit card, and some players in industry are even finding more innovative ways to adopt contactless payments. I'm sure we've been to some events where we're issued, or certain venues where we're issued with wearable devices that we use to either play games or to pay for goods and services in certain locations. So the use case is actually vast. And I think in Nigeria, where we've not even scratched the tip of the iceberg, the potential is so huge for banking the unbanked, and for merchants or for our corporate customers who want to perhaps keep funds within the organization. So a customer walks into a certain venue, instead of them going to withdraw cash or using their cards, they get given a wearable wristband, and they get to now load that band with funds that they can only spend within that venue or location. So it's a way for that merchant to ensure that they, as much as possible, enjoy a customer's cash and plug those income leakages that can occur with customers. So those are just some examples of contactless use cases.
Fantastic. Thank you, Olashubunmi. So, I mean, I imagine some people can relate now, but it is what it is. It's contactless. There's a lot of technology that works behind it, but not to worry. It is nothing too technical. What we're trying to tell you today is that it is secure, and we want to show you proof as much as we can. That's why I have Oluseyi and Olashubunmi with me on the show this evening. So let's get right into it. We have an understanding of what contactless payment is, the different kinds of contactless payment. But just quickly, let me ask you, just how big do you think contactless payment can be in Nigeria? Let's just project. What kinds of transactions do you think contactless payment can be used for? And I'm talking if I want to buy bread, if I want to buy suya, if I want to, just what kinds of transactions do you think contactless payment can accommodate? Is there any limit? Is there any restriction to the possibilities with contactless payment? And I'll take both of you, but let me begin with Oluseyi.
Okay, thank you, Kayode. Yes, it can be used for every type of transactions, ranging from small tickets to big ones. But you know, the CBN just generated a policy that will guide the operations of contactless in Nigeria. And for a transaction, it must not be more than 15,000. And for a whole day, it must not be more than 50,000 naira. So this is just to provide a security around the operations of contactless, and all the stakeholders, ranging from the PTSP, PTAD, and they must adhere to all the guidelines that CBN has provided. Thank you.
Fantastic. So we're going to get deeper into that new CBN policy, so a lot of people can also see what is being done by the regulator, in this case, the Central Bank of Nigeria. But let me come to Olashibomi on that one, the possibilities.
The possibilities are endless, so to speak. So contactless payment, first and foremost, apart from security, the additional security that it provides is that ease and that's speed and efficiency in processing your payments and transactions. So possible use cases, I think in the session last week, one of the panelists mentioned about it being used on the recently launched Blue Line. So if you extend it beyond the Blue Line, I just adopted in mass transit in Nigeria. So you'd make it very easy for commuters to pay for their transport. You reduce queues potentially, because instead of people going to find cash, trying to pay the conductor as they get on board the bus or boat or ferry or Danfo or Uber vehicle, they can just using one of the use cases, tap their contactless card on the contactless reader on whatever vehicle or mode of transportation or location it is, and pass through. So it has massive benefits in terms of traffic management, in terms of making it easy. You know, sometimes you're in a restaurant or you're in a particular store, retail outlet, and you want to make a purchase. It might be a off the whim, impulsive desire. Oh, let me just quickly buy this shirt or shoe or this fried yam and beans, right? But in the process of trying to, queue, you're frustrated because the line isn't organized, POS isn't working, somebody is just being awkward, right? With this, you can just, once you are at the till, you just tap, it reads, validates your payment device, and you're good to go. So so applications in retail outlets and mass transit are huge. And it's already been adopted in other developing countries. And I believe we'll see massive traction in the Nigerian economy, in the Nigerian space.
Absolutely. And that's why it's important to really get on board right now while it's still, early days, while, you can still be like first comer, as it were, even though a lot of people are already on it. But if you're listening to us this evening and you're wondering, should I not? Well, now is the time. Be one of the early birds so you can at least start enjoying the benefits. Speed will come to the costs, perhaps, if we have time, because we're focusing on the security this evening. And one of the applications that came to mind, I like the bread, is it yam and fries that you talked about earlier. But imagine you want to buy something in traffic, you don't have the cash. You just quickly tap And that's it. You got what you want in traffic. But that aside, let's talk about the security now. And Oluseyi, talk to us about the peculiarity of Nigeria and contactless payment. What kind of security is available? I don't think we can ever overflog that issue. So just tell us, what kind of security is available in Nigeria for contactless payment?
Well, apart from the fact that the CBN, that's Central Bank of Nigeria, is really regulating this and has sent the guidance to all the banks, contactless is secured on its own. Like I explained earlier, is a technology that is unique, and it is called the near field communication and radio frequency identification. And also the transaction is with a very unique code. It generates a very unique code or authentication code that is unique for that particular transaction. And no other devices can generate that code for us to use. Thank you.
Thank you. So I hear NFC and all of that. And maybe if you could just give us maybe a little more, and I'll come to Olashibumi on this one too.
Okay. For NFC technology, if I can explain to
okay, you can as well.
Yes, NFC technology powers contactless payments via mobile wallets like Apple Pay, Google Pay, as well as contactless cards.
Yeah.
So whenever you want to use the card, you have to be in close proximity to the device that is going to accept the card. And the transactions are transmitted in a secured manner upstream to the processors and also to the issuer that is going to authorize the transactions. Thank you.
So there's no form of interception like before it gets
it is very hard to intercept such authorization code. It's extremely,
because as you said, the proximity
difficult.
is really close.
Yes, it is very, very hard. It's not like our traditional transaction or traditional payment that we have today. It is very close to the device that is accepting it, and it is transmitted in a very secured mode. Thank you.
It's interesting you make that point, comparing it to other forms of payment, and Olashibumi, please speak to that, because for a lot of people, they're comparing it to the forms of payment they already have, slotting their cards into a POS, and they're thinking, so what is the edge this has over POS, this has over transfer, this has over other forms of payment in terms of security? So if you could help us weigh them.
Okay, thank you very much, Kayode. I think Shay has put it beautifully well. In addition to her comments about the CBN's guidelines and regulations, which are very comprehensive and speaks to the roles and responsibilities of all the stakeholders, from the acquirer to issuer to PTSB, PTSA, switch, and even the merchant as well. So they're clearly spelled out things that everybody has to do to make sure that they are transmitting the customer's data in a safe and secure manner. So ensuring the transactions are properly encrypted. I think the specification is advanced encryption system, which is like the highest grade of encryption that can be used. But in addition to encryption, it also leverages tokenization, which essentially is swapping, if you like, the card details and generating a token for customers' cards when trying to use your contactless card to make a payment on certain platforms, either at the bus terminal or online on the website or on the POS itself. So with traditional card payments, that information is passed along the value chain in that transaction processing value chain, if you like, although it's encrypted, and each stakeholder has a key, if you like, that they used to decrypt it and process the transaction. In this case, the card details are not passed along the value chain, right? It's that token, that generated token that is passed along the value chain, which, is the added security that we're talking about. So customers' information is safe and secure because it's not traveling to everybody's database. It's just the issuing bank and the card scheme that would have that customer's information. So this is one of the things that makes it safer, if you like, than your traditional payment methods. And just to further buttress the point made by Oluseyi, CBN guideline also specifies that the contactless card, if you like, or device has to be a maximum of 2 centimeters away from the payment terminal, the terminal that will be receiving the payment. So that guards against things like you being in a room and somebody being able to, from a distance, so to speak, tap your card and chop your money. So with this specification of 2 centimeters, I think, you know, it's very secure, in addition to tokenization and encryption that CBN has stipulated.
Thank you so much. And you know what comes to mind is when you want to do a transfer and you're probably on an unsecure, you know, wireless connection, and they tell you don't do that. But thankfully, with contactless payment, you don't even need to do a transfer. Imagine you don't have internet connection, so you don't have to worry about all of that. And the beauty of this show, ladies and gentlemen, is we don't just give you financial advice. We're even venturing into tech advice. So don't worry if you come out of this meeting and you become a tech bro or a tech sis to an extent. Thank you so much, Lashibomi and Oluseyi, for the insights so far. Just in case you're just joining us, you're listening to the Financial Literacy and Public Enlightenment Radio Show, courtesy the Bankers Committee. You can call us the MSME Radio Show. But the point is, we're here to give you the very best financial service, information, enlightenment. The list goes on and on. And today we're talking about a revolutionary form of payment, and that's contactless payment. As the name implies, it is contactless, it is hassle-free, it is fast, it is secure, and that is the point we're making today, the security of contactless payment. If you've got questions, if you've got comments about this form of payment, contactless payment, and the security, you can always call us on 0810 608 1681 or 0818 202 5883. We're here to take your calls and your messages. So rest assured, you get answers to those questions. Let's make the most of these experts we have on the show this evening and ensure we get the most from them. So let's move on, Oluseyi. And I'd like to come to some nitty-gritty here. So I've heard encryption, I've heard tokenization. I love the way they sound. I love the breakdown both of you have given to that one. But specifically now, how do the devices then authenticate transactions to prevent unauthorized use? That's always a concern. People are thinking, what if this falls into the wrong hands? Or what if some hanky-panky happens? What really happens behind the scenes to avoid or to prevent that, Oluseyi?
Well, the devices too are NFC and RFID enabled, because without that, there is no way it will be able to authorize the transactions that is coming from the contactless environment. And you either enter your PIN, depending on how the issuer wants to treat that particular transaction. But there are some small tickets that are done without the PIN, and this actually depends on the risk appetite of the issuers. So the device also is protected, and whereas also the contactless cards and the devices that we're using for those transactions are also protected. So the transactions are sent upstream from the device down to the, like in Nigeria, for example, all transactions on our POS must pass through NIPS. And from NIPS send it across to the processors. And from the processors, they are sent to the issuers. And the issuer will validate the card, the transactions that gets to them, and ensure that there is no fraudulent transactions along the line. And most banks also, they have built their robust fraud monitoring applications that are very robust and secured. And they are able to monitor the behavior of transactions that are coming from that environment. So immediately those transactions are validated at the issuer points, and the amount is validated to ensure that the card, the customer has enough funds. Then transactions are authorized, and they are sent the same way back to the POS terminal. Thank you.
So you heard that. That's how the devices ensure authentication. So there is no hanky-panky. We're still going to take more questions on the security of contactless payment. I'm glad the way Oluseyi and Olashibomi are breaking it down for us this evening. By the way, we'll start picking calls in a couple of minutes. We're due for a break in just about a minute or two. So 0810-608-1681. That's the number to call or text. Or 0818-202-5883. I see the calls coming in. We'll go on a break very soon, and then we'll be able to take your calls. But let me just allow Olashibomi have the last word on this side of the program before we go to break on the authentication and ensuring that there is no, there's nobody playing hanky-panky when it comes to authentication with the contactless payment. Olashibomi.
Okay, thank you, Kaede. So, at the risk of sounding too much like a broken record, so the guidelines that CBN has stipulated around processing contactless payments in Nigeria are very exhaustive. Mentioning what each player in the value and the processing value chain has to do, or even just dwelling on the encryption side of things. So every transaction has to be transmitted in an encrypted format for every stakeholder along the value chain that Oluseyi so eloquently laid out for everyone. So if someone were to intercept that data, they need to have a particular key or cipher, which is only shared between the stakeholders, right, to be able to decode or decrypt the transaction information that is used to process the transactions for contactless payments. And then, I mentioned earlier that contactless payments also adopt tokenization technology, where the information of the customer, if you like, the card details, are not shared across the value chain, or a token in its place is what is now used to process said transactions. And only the stakeholders are able to use that token. This makes it a very secure means of making payments and receiving payments as well.
You see, we're painstakingly going through the security of contactless payments just to ensure that we leave no stone unturned. Sometimes we might say it twice or three times just to put your mind at ease that contactless payment is not just here to stay. It's not just here for you, but it is safe for you to use. We're due for a break now, and when we return, we'll take your calls, your messages as we continue with the conversation. Stay with us right here on the SME Radio Show, brought to you by the Bankers Committee.
Central Bank of Nigeria don't announce the currency. Make we nobody go. Whether you want pay or you collect money, different options will go. In case cash no day available, you fit use mobile app, internet banking, ATM, EOS, USSD, QR code, e-Naira, and others to take do your transaction. And if you don't get bank account, visit your bank. Let them open up for you. Make you nobody go. Last, all of us will be all right. This message is from Bankers Committee.
All right, last, all of us go day all right. And we're trying to ensure that your business, your personal finance, as they say in local parlance, day all right. And that's why we're bringing you this show brought to you by the Bankers Committee. Welcome back to the MSME radio show. Today, we're talking contactless payment. It's a fantastic payment option, really, for your business, whether it is big or small. And as we've been talking about this evening, it is secure, just in case you have fears, you have worries and concerns. But you know what? If you're not convinced, call us up on the show, right? Pick up your phone, send us a message, or call us with your questions. The phone lines are open right now. Officially, I am taking calls. So 0810-608-1681 or 0818-202-5883. Those are the numbers to call. I still have with me Olashibomi Adeyemi, who's POS Business Officer at Polaris Bank, as well as Oluseyi Sonny, Head Business Solution and Product Support at First Bank. And just joining us on the show right now, Justice Wefido, who's the Product Manager, Payments and Collections at Fidelity Bank PLC. But let's take a call now. We have a caller on the line. Good evening. Welcome to the MSME radio show. What's your name and where are you calling from? All right. Looks like we have difficulty connecting with that caller, but don't worry. Call us back. Would like to hear your question and get answers to them. But let's welcome Justice to the show. Justice, welcome to the show. And, you know, we've been having an interesting conversation with Oluseyi and Olashibomi on just how safe, how secure contactless payment is in Nigeria. So I'd like you to give us your opening comments, really, Justice, on contactless payment. We've talked about the possibilities. We've talked about some of the technology behind it. But just by way of introduction, if you were to tell a layman just how safe, how secure contactless payment is, how would you put it, Justice?
Okay, thank you very much, Kayode, and thank you for having me on the show again. So I know that there have been so many.
It's okay.
Hello?
Just you can go on. We can hear you.
Okay, all right, thank you. So I know there have been so many doubts and so many clouds around contactless payment, especially it being its acceptance, is wide acceptance in the industry. So it's new, but I can say it's secure and it's efficient. So outside the Nigerian economy, it has been very very efficient for that economy, especially in curbing the spread of the pandemic, spread of diseases, widespread diseases. So for in terms of security, the CBN has done a lot by ensuring that the limit stays within a safe. Hello. So
Sorry about that, Justice. Please go ahead.
one of the major fear that a card holder, like putting myself in card holder's shoe, is are my data being protected? How efficient is data protection? So because whenever you make payments, what is being sent or what is being transmitted by the issuer and acquirer is basically the card data, the card holder's information. By card holder's information, I mean your PAN, full card PAN, your CVV, your password, and the likes is being transmitted. Now, that is where tokenization came in place. So instead of this your data being passed to the acquired channel, tokenization has also come in place to ensure that that data is stored in the vault, where a random number is sent, random digital number is sent. So it's like all your data, all the information that's going to be transmitted across each acquiring channels is being stored in the vault. And then when the acquirer, maybe if it's on a POS or is an ATM, calls for that information, instead of your personal details to be sent, a generic it's a generic randomized number is sent that is being decrypted by the card king. Another way of protecting, ensuring that contactless payment is being protected is ensuring that all parties involved is PCI DSS certified. What I mean by PCI DSS certified, Payment Card Industry Data Security Standard, means that all parties involved in that process, both the acquirer, both the issuer, are PCI data satisfied. And we also ensure that even other vendors or every other party is NDPL, NDPA certified, that will meet the National Data Protection Regulation standard before we have to even embark any party into the payment cycle. With the increase of fintech coming into the space,
Yeah.
so they want to really ensure that all those parties meet the required maximum data protection standard, because what we are working here is to ensure to grow trust. I remember when the POS business came into the industry, it was really not accepted initially. Everybody was relying heavily on cash, but as time goes on, they decided to trust the system. So I believe that currently they will trust the system also. So there are a lot of protections around it. So we hear of two-factor authentication, where you not just put your PIN, you also send you an OTP. So the OTP can be to your mobile app, the OTP can be to your email address. So there are lots of ways you can do a two-factor authentication on the process. So CBN has also set a limit that we also instill some sense of confidence first going into the market. We see the transaction limit was set to 15,000, and then for single payments, and then for daily payments, cumulative payment of 50,000 daily. So I know that there is no amount that cannot be felt in process of loss, but I believe that it will also not encourage fraudsters, because as we are working, as the regulators are working, the fraudsters are also working very hard. But what they did first of all was to make the whole process not enticing for them by coming to that limit. So when this limit is set, the limit is still not set without PIN, because we still need some certain degree of protection on our side. So when I go and tap and go, as the technology requires, instead of inserting, is now tap and go. So as technology requires, I will still some card management system will still call for PIN of the user. For example, the contactless payment uses NFC technology. So in sense that it's near field communication, you just
Yeah.
need to tap instead of inserting your card. You just need to tap and make the payment. What we do in the UK, it doesn't require PIN, especially for Max Stripe. So you just swipe and it debits you. But here, because it's still new into the industry, some card management system of some bank will still call for users to use PIN.
Yeah.
So this is just in the way of ensuring that trust is grown around the system first. Then we can now base on okay how the limit can be increased and how the system can be increased. But
Right.
being contactless on the card is on one hand. Also being contactless on the channel is on the other hand. Because most cards are contactless now. I can see MasterCard being contactless, Bev and Visa being contactless. But the real question is the acquirer terminals, the channels, are they also contactless? Do we have contactless ATMs? How many contactless PS do we have? How many contactless channels do we have? So we also need to also enable that our acquiring channels are also contactless in that space, so that this technology can be seamless.
Right. So there you have it from Justice, his opening remarks, essentially giving us sort of a recap and adding some bits here and there. You know, Oluseyi and Olashibami have really taken us through some of these issues, and Justice added more spice. He showed off rather with some terms, but thankfully he explained those terms. So Justice, thank you so much for really breaking it down and helping us understand where we're at in Nigeria, the potential, and why it is important ultimately for businesses out there to imbibe contactless payment options. I promise that we're going to be taking calls right now, so I do not want to promise and fail. 0810-608-1681 or 0818-202-5883. If you have questions, call us up, ask your question, and we'll definitely give you answers to those questions. We are here for you. The MSME radio show is here for you. So let's move on. I'll come to Oluseyi now. And, you know, as I was just talking, I was thinking about issues such as, theft, for example. What protects against theft? What if someone, picks your device and or your card, your payment device, and the person just grabs it and wants to use it? So what are the steps to ensure that you first, you don't find yourself in that situation, but just in case that happens, they are still secure, your money is safe?
Thank you, Kayode. So what's about the security? Assuming somebody just pounds on you and gets your contactless card and use it, what you normally do, like I explained earlier, it is very, very difficult to use that card, the details of the card, because it cannot be hacked. And because of that unique code that it generated, it is very, very difficult to hack. But if at all it is being used, there are processes in the banks today that you can use to get your money back. And there is something that my colleague mentioned earlier on the two-factor authentication. So the two-factor authentication will not even allow that to happen. But if at all it happens, there are different investigation things that needs to be done internally. We have the internal control. There's different policies that has been set up in different banks that they can use to investigate where the issue are coming from. So if the bank is from the policy that CBN gave us, it's like the bank is liable, and when proper investigations are done, then the customer is reimbursed back for his money. Thank you.
So it's beautiful to see the structure around contactless payment. The regulator is really serious about this. The banks are also serious about it. And you see that it is an all-in scenario. It's not just one leg in, one leg out. Both regulator and the financial services provider are all in. So there's no excuse for you not to come on board. As I always say, if you're a consumer and you have this store you visit often, you have this vendor you like to visit, the next time you're there, ask them, why are you not using contactless? What's going on? Do you want to be left behind? Tell them, no carry last though. And that's a good way to ensure that we spread this around and ensure that our payments are more secure, they're cheaper. I mean, we talked about the cost implications last week, and we found out that, by and large, it's actually cheaper, it's faster. And I keep asking myself, what are you waiting for? So ask your vendor, that store, ask them, what are you waiting for? But I just want to quickly add, when it comes to theft prevention, that it's important to actually keep your cards, the same way you keep your car keys, you keep your mobile phones. It's important to also do that very minimum as the owner. It's important to you, so ensure that you keep them and you monitor where you drop them. Let me move over to Olashibomi. I don't know if you want to add anything to the point made by Oluseyi on that one, but let me just take this a notch higher and talk about resolutions that are available just in case anything happens. How do people go about escalating maybe issues that come up, and what is the process? Because that's also very important.
Thank you very much, Kayode. It will be what already obtains, so to speak. So the same way a customer would reach out to their bank's contact center or walk into their branch or their account officer to report any issues, or maybe even dial a code or use their internet banking or mobile banking app to lodge a complaint around a failed transaction or a fraudulent transaction. The same thing applies. So whether it's a contactless card or NQR, customers would be able to call their banks or go to their banks to report it and block said cards to prevent further loss of funds. And as Oluseyi also mentioned, necessary investigations will be done. And if it's seen that all the security that the banks have put in place were found to be wanting, then a customer would be reimbursed duly. If it's seen that it's the customer that was negligible, and that's a different conversation. but by and large, procedures have been put in place. One of which is even transaction monitoring tools that a lot of banks are required to have now by CBN, that looks at how a customer spends, the amounts that they spend, when they spend said amounts, so that any irregularities would be flagged by the transaction monitoring system to the respective bank or payment servicing organizations, audit or fraud team, for them to do the needful and either put a lien or necessary restrictions on said account to prevent any further potential loss of funds. So it's more secure, and it has similar dispute resolution and fraud prevention and resolution mechanisms in place to ensure safety of funds for our very esteemed customers.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Olashibumi. I love the point you made about transaction monitoring, and I'd like to stay on that for a moment as I go over to Justice. And it just reminds me of artificial intelligence. So the banks actually have a system to monitor. They know the trend. They know that, okay, this customer essentially over a week doesn't spend beyond 10,000, over time, or max 20,000. But once they see something that spikes, they're able to flag it. And I want to ask Justice, AI is a big thing these days. How is it, if it is, how can it also help in securing contactless payment?
Thank you very much, Kayode. So the beautiful thing about artificial intelligence is that it can be applied in any industry. So for the banks, the way AI works here, it works with customers and payments behavior over time. So there's something that the banks have currently with CAT scheme. It's called VRO, Visa Risk Management. So what it does is that it monitors customers and payment structure over time. For example, now if you're a customer that spends within a payment rate of 20,000, 20,000, 25,000, the day you spend 100,000 in a single transaction, what the AI tools does is that it flags that transaction as suspected fraud. So that transaction doesn't go. So what the bank does at that moment is to call the customer, ask the customer for some authentication before they push the transaction through. So this is some of the tools that AI, we've applied AI in ensuring that customer transaction stays safe. So you just monitor the customer's transaction behavior over time, and then flags it when there's any suspected transaction, especially when a customer or when the cardholder makes a substantial, amount of money that have never been made throughout a period of time.
Right. Thank you, Justice. So, having all this conversation around security, I do hope that anyone who's still skeptical has been bought over, or rather, use the appropriate word, has been won over by these points you have made. So I don't want us to leave people hanging. So we've sold this to them. We've given them all of the things that go on behind the scenes, encryption, tokenization, and transaction monitoring, all of those things, NFC, and the other acronyms that are available. But how can they get on board right now? I think it's important to equip people listening with that information so that we complete the whole process for the business owner, whether big or small, for the vendor, all of that. How can they get on board contactless payment? Oluseyi.
Well, thank you, Kayode. I think the banks needs to do more awareness. They need to sensitize, try to advertise to customers and telling them how secure contactless payment is. So that one will enable customers to try to start using it. And banks too needs to create awareness among their customers too. And also NIBS and CBN, everybody needs to, for us to be able to have enough or for customers to be able to patronize contactless transactions. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And that's why we're doing this, essentially, giving you the information you need about contactless payment so you can get on board. So Olashibomi, as a matter of urgency, I'm a business owner. I love this idea. By the way, I love innovative ideas. And this is one of the things I think will get my business ahead of my peers, my competitors. I love when my customers just come, make their payment quick, they're on the go. That way I get more customers, I make more profits, my goods, my services move very fast. So as a matter of urgency, tomorrow morning, I want to get on board. What do I do, Olashibomi?
Thank you very much, Kayode. All you have to do is what you've been doing already. Just reach out to your bank and tell them that you want a contactless payment POS terminal or NQR code or a pay with transfer solution that allows them to receive payments from their customers in that variety of ways, so to speak. So the account officer would log the request with them. It would be processed accordingly. And once the POS is ready to be shipped to them for them to start receiving contactless payments. For NQR codes, it's even quicker. They can get it within a day or two. And that one, there's little or no cost involved there. Can be quickly deployed to the business for them, for customers to come and scanning and making payments. And pay with transfer as well, which is one of the value-added services that Polaris Bank has available for its customers as an option to tap in and going, inserting your card. You can actually transfer to the POS terminal of that particular merchant. And instead of them reaching out to Oga or Madam to confirm the credit alert, the POS terminal would print the receipt there upon confirmation of a successful transaction, and everybody is okay. It's the same process as obtains today. Just reach out to your nearest branch. You can even call the contact center in some cases. You can reach out to your account officer and just tell them what you need, and the bank will make it happen for you.
Thank you very much, Olashibomi. Just in case, I mean, you're thinking it's still something out of the country. It's not here yet. It's still, in all of those countries. It is actually here in Nigeria. You just heard Olashibomi. It is here. The banks have it available. All they need you to do is approach them and ask for it. It's as simple as that. I mean, it would be weird if they were just to drop it at your front door without you asking for it, which is why you need to make that request as early as tomorrow morning, and you will get what you need to ensure that your customers can pay contactlessly. I'll allow Justice have a final word on this one. Contactless payment, the security. Just imagine there's one more person who is a bit skeptical. I mean, we can never do this enough, I guess, but we'll try our best. Justice, final words.
So thank you very much. So the only way to guarantee assurance is to give it a try. So for every customer who is skeptical about it, I can say you should just give it a try. That the try is going to keep you. I mean, that's the way electronic payment has been run so far in Nigeria. So just go out there, go to your nearest bank, and give it a try.
Okay, you heard that from Justice. A trial will not just convince you, a trial will keep you. I tell you, it's been an amazing time talking contactless payment with you, lady and gentlemen. And for you listening out there, the time is now. New things are happening. Do not be left behind. We have heard the seriousness from the regulator, the CBN, from the financial services providers themselves, the banks, and the ball is in your court, literally. So make it count. Score a goal, shall you? Well, that's where we draw the curtains on the program this evening. And I'd like to thank my brilliant panelists. It's really tough to get you guys in the same room at the same time, but I tell you, it's been worth it. I'd like to thank you so much, Oluseyi Sonny, Head Business Solution and Product Support, First Bank. the only lady amongst us, and she has proven her mettle. Thank you so much for your contributions. Olashubomi Adeyemi, POS Business Officer, Polaris Bank. Thank you, as well as Justice Wefido, Product Manager, Payment and Collections, Fidelity Bank, PLC. I'd like to thank you so much, lady and gentlemen, for your time. And of course, the production crew, Bolanle Oyemi, who's Director, FRCN Lagos Operations, Maria Ouma, Assistant Director Programs, Latif Olatunde, Daniel Koye, Ido Eusebio, Rilwan Oladejo, and not forgetting the brilliant technical team behind this, Ibrahim Mojtaba. Thank you once again for making this one another successful show. Till next time I come your way, don't forget to always make profit. I am Kaido Kikiolu. Goodbye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Thank you, listeners. Bye, Kayode.
Thank you.